Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Great beer is about drinkability. Doesn't matter the style.
You guys are like walking beer Wikipedia.
That's the first time that you've ever accepted me as a person.
Or you have a fermentation in your gut.
I'm jet propelled at all times.
How many guys do you think that you have the privilege to slap?
Somebody who's never tasted a commercial example, and this is how you know everything about this beer? Please, you don't.
I think that's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit too.
Wow. Are you guys going to arm wrestle?
No.
They're going to teabag fight instead.
Yeah. You heard of Junkyard Wars?
Can I get another high five, Beavis?
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. We have a good one for you today. We're joined by our longtime friend, Matt Sager from Danville Brewing Company.
Hey,
Matt,
how's it going? Thanks
how
for
you
having
doing,
me
man?
on.
Hey, man, thanks for coming
Matt.
on. And, of course, we're joined, that sweet, sweet sound is none other than Nathan Smith.
The voice you guys might remember from the Canyons of your memory way back in the Brewing Network days.
Way, way, way too far back. You're old. You're too old, Nate. You've been around for
still
too
here,
much.
Still alive.
Yeah, good.
All my hair is gray now.
I know.
It's good.
Yeah. Is it good? Do you feel? Does it give you power? Do you feel your power?
I don't really have a choice unless I'm going to diet, but I'm not going to do that. So here we are. Yeah.
Can you imagine right now at this stage in your life, after having long hair that's been going like silver and gray for years, you just suddenly decided to dye it like black?
I got a Yeah, exactly. I got a Sharpie. I'll just do that through the show, bit by bit by little bit. Right?
That's what you know. What?
One strand at a time.
Yeah,
one strand at a time. Exactly, Matt. You got it.
Yeah.
That's what Nicole should be doing. You should just be jamming and just like noodling around, and Nicole should be taking the Sharpie to one strand of hair at a time.
I got to take years off my hair over here.
But thanks for...
It's a pleasure to be here. It's been a while.
Yeah, thanks man. I really appreciate it. You know, it's this whole thing is weird. We're trying to figure it all out. These new sessions and random times. Now it's Thursday at 5 o'clock, and it could just be, whenever. We can do these whenever, which is kind of cool, I think. You know what I mean? It fits into everybody's schedule a little bit better, maybe, and... it's a good time.
Yeah.
I think we're off to a good start, for sure. If you want to support the show, and I don't know why you guys wouldn't do that, because we are still the best beer radio around, you can go to our homepage. If you do any Amazon shopping, there's a link there that you can use. You can do that. You can buy T-shirts over on TeePublic. We have a bunch of TeePublic designs now. We even have a mask, and we're working on some new designs as well. I'm going to be taking some of our logos for the individual shows that are from our website. You know, the website categories, like The Session is a different sort of logo than the Brewing Network logo, and Dr. Homebrew has a different logo, and I'm going to put those onto T-shirts. So we're going to have some cool stuff for you guys. Maybe even some more mask designs. I don't know.
What's on the mask? Is it a big hop grenade?
I think it's just like the hop grenade, like the redesigned hop grenade, like front and center. There's really no design to it. It just sort of like auto-generates.
I should get one of those so I can wear it around. People be like, what's that artichoke?
Yeah. Why are you breathing artichokes? I don't understand.
No, it's a hop. They'll be like, what?
Yeah, that would be the greatest. So Nate, what have you been up to, man? Catch us up a little bit before we jump into Matt's brain.
I've been homebrewing a lot, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. That's one thing that this whole thing was a shock to everybody, of course. And I got like partway through that first week where everybody was on complete lockdown, especially in the early days. It was pretty weird.
Yeah.
I didn't feel good. Most people didn't. I definitely didn't feel good like 3-4 days in. And one of the things that dawned on me though quickly was like, well, what do I need to do that I haven't done in a while? And homebrewing was one of those things. I hadn't homebrewed in a few months leading up to this, and it was like picked it up immediately, and it's been a really good creative outlet and release.
Yeah, I feel
and then,
good.
Of course, if you're spending more time at home and you got more beer to drink, it's not a bad thing either. Right. Yeah, a lot of experiments around pale ale and dry hopping, like standard 2-row, maybe 2-row in pills, and then dry hopping at rates of anywhere from like 1 pound to 2 to 2.5 pounds per barrel, and kind of trying to dial in what I like and what I think works, and kind of chasing this idea of a hop creep, and where does hop creep sort of fit into the whole equation? And I think I'm learning some stuff. I'm still kind of figuring that out. I'm hit by it more than I expected, especially when upping that dry hop rate to 2.5 pounds per barrel or so, and part of that is still elusive, so I'm still trying to figure out all the components there without trying to go to something like ALDC, which I'd like to experiment with at some point, but I haven't done that yet. But it's really weird. Like you take and dry hop super aggressively, and then sometimes the diacetyl stuff won't start to emerge until after I've done some tests that already should have revealed it to me but didn't. Or maybe a beer will sit in the keg for a couple of weeks and then it will start to emerge, which sort of surprised me too. Yeah, so been having a lot of fun trying to dial that in and getting myself wrapped around that and make it work. It's okay. Yeah, that's been cool. Yeah, so pale ale is a beer I want to drink a lot of, as most people do who are deeply into beer, not just like IPA, but straight up like 5% pale ale. So having fun dialing in experiments around that.
Nice, man. I thought about homebrewing again. And then I remembered all the work that it entails, and I don't want to do it. I stopped. I stopped.
Yeah,
thinking
I think I saw
about
one of your comments at one point was that your favorite homebrewing was the canning line at Sierra Nevada.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
I can identify too. You know?
I just can't, man. I can't bring myself to do. It's a ton of work, and it's well, I've said it ad nauseum now, but like I love doing the recipe stuff, and I love tasting it, but I don't love packaging it. Bottling
packaging it is
or whatever
is kind of a pain.
I hate doing it. I just don't want to do it. Yeah, it sucks.
See, Matt graduated from all that. He doesn't have to homebrew anymore. Maybe you still do sometimes, but now you get a big kit to play around.
Yeah.
Right. Well, before we got our little canning line, I was when I'd can or bottle for competition, I'm sitting in the cold room for 10 hours, hand bottling just like a home brewer. With the bottling wand, freezing my ass off. It's absolutely the worst. Now we have the canning line, so it makes it a lot easier. But
were you home?
Yeah, I feel it.
Did you homebrew? Like when you had to just stay locked down at home? Did you start homebrewing a little bit, or did you get enough of that, in your day job?
I have the grain father, the 5-gallon grain father that I didn't necessarily use for homebrewing because I have a dome for it.
Okay.
A pot still dome. I may have been doing some water distillation.
Yeah, water distillation for sure, dude. Essential oils
clean
and
water's
stuff.
a good thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Theoretical water distillation. Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Well, you distilled water. That's the best to add to a fish tank if you have a fish tank. So,
right.
definitely, you can definitely do something like that. Okay, well, that's cool. So no actual, like, what Nate's talking about. Oh, you wanted to dust off the equipment to maybe sort of noodle around with an off flavor you're perceiving or a new ingredient or some new design that you can't really do yet.
I was thinking I'd have more time to do that, and that wasn't really the case.
It's amazing how the time gets absorbed, even though you're not as hectically busy maybe as you were before.
Right, like you were saying, that first week sucked.
It was weird.
And I don't want to jump the gun here, JP, but
no, go ahead.
That I was pretty naive, honestly. And when things really went down, I thought, this is going to be at most a few weeks that we have to shut down. I was like, this will give us a great time to give the brewery and the tap room head to toe cleaning and spruce things up and then as the week went on, I got a call from our owner, and he basically said, I'm going to have to lay you guys off, me and my assistant brewer, Sebastian. And we're closing down. So,
wow.
So in my mind, I thought, well, I have to go back into the brewery, button things up, clear out the tap lines, empty out the hot liquor tank, clean that out, and then call it a day until we're called back. So for that first few days, I was at home and I was trying to think of, what the hell to do with myself. I painted a bathroom that I always wanted to get around to painting.
Just a random bathroom or your bathroom?
I went into somebody's house.
Yeah, I was at Bart. I kicked the door down at Bart.
Do you have a random to-do list of things you need to do? I'll just, I'll start doing some of those, right?
But I'm not embarrassed or ashamed to say that about 3 days in, I'm in the bathroom, painting the bathroom, and out of the blue, I broke down.
Wow.
I started bawling my eyes out because I was scared. Honestly, I was scared of a lot of things. I was scared of what this whole COVID thing meant for me, for society, for my job. Yeah. I was afraid for my daughter, who's 11 years old. What does this mean for her future? And all this, shit just swirling around in my head, and it was driving me nuts. And that was one day that I was just sitting there painting, and all of a sudden I'm just, I'm just bawling, right? And I thought, well, I've for my daughter, I've got to keep things together. Mm-hmm. and show that it's going to be okay. We'll all get through this, and we're all in this together, right?
Right.
Theoretically.
Yeah, some of us. Most of us. Yeah. But then actually about a week in, I got a call back from work, and they said, we decided that we're going to do curbside pickup, and you guys are going to be needed to continue brewing. Mm-hmm. So awesome. Really, I was only down about a week of sitting at home, painting bathrooms and distilling water. Right. And crying.
Yeah. Hell, we got back to work, and that first month, so February is always kind of a slow month, so our March numbers didn't look great. But our April, May numbers almost eclipsed our typical numbers. We're brewing our asses off, and we still are.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you're not seating anybody indoors. It's all curbside pickup. Is that a community outreach kind of thing? It's like supporting everybody?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the community of Danville has just come out in droves to support us. And awesome. That's great. We were doing crowler fills. We have 32 ounce crowlers, so we were just crowlering beer left and right. We still are canning beer. We have this little 2-head canning line called from Express Fill, mm-hmm. and it's a little workhorse, and it's only like 2 cans a minute, but we're back there probably twice a week canning about 10 to 20 cases of beer. That's all going to change in a couple weeks. We're taking delivery of a larger canning line.
Wow, nice. But, that was going to be my first question, whether you were canning. It sounds like you were canning a little bit before this with that same 2-head system. And now you guys mm-hmm. are going to make the leap into doing much greater volume.
Yeah, it's 20 cans a minute. So
nice.
Anytime you can expand in something like this, where they're the uncertain economic times, but you have a solid community base to rally around you.
Yeah,
and that's that's
that part's awesome. So local people are coming out. They're not just going and buying. Nothing wrong with buying packaged beer from the grocery store, but they're making a special stop by the local brewery and pick up fresh crowlers, growlers, cans, everything you guys got. Right.
It's been great to see, and of course, there have been plenty of bumps along the way, particularly when that couple days we had to board everything up, but that didn't stop us from brewing. We got the pry bar and pried the door open so we could go in and brew. We had to brew.
Why did you board everything up? Why was everything packaged up like that?
When the protests were there was a scheduled protest for Danville.
Mm-hmm.
This was probably early June. Right?
Yeah,
early or mid June. Yeah.
Okay.
So for that we closed down, and then I was afraid we were going to have to close a couple days because of all the smoke that we were experiencing last few weeks.
Yeah, it's still not good, but it was much worse. A week or two back.
It was much worse. But man, I'll tell you what, I'll go down there on the weekend, and we have seats now outside all along the street. The city allowed us to close down part of our parking area for seating, as well as a common area between our business and another business. And I would guess that the seating that we have now makes up for what we're losing inside.
How much seating do you have out there?
How many tops do we have? We only had probably 10 tables at first when we were allowed outdoor seating, and we expanded that to about 20 or 30 tables.
Wow.
And we're able to keep those at a distance. We made sure that all of those tables are at a 6-foot distance.
Sure.
So it makes sense to start slow too and see what works, and then expand it as you can, right? And as the city allowed to, it sounds like as well, right?
Right. And it's ever evolving. It's great now, but in a few months it's going to turn cold and rainy, right? And people aren't going to want to sit outside.
No.
How many days a week are you open for the public like that?
We're open 7 days a week.
7 days a week now. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, you just get little A-frames and you put them over each table, and there you go. That's it. That's what everybody wants, man. I don't know.
Yep,
right? You put it easy up over every table or a big umbrella or something. I mean, owners will try this, right? And in some ways, it will probably work a little bit. But if it's cold enough and it's rainy enough, people aren't. It's not going to be like it is now. It's going to be more challenging. Right?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we've just been doing our best to roll with the punches.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing my best to roll with the punches. I've been, when I'm not surrounded by all things beer, I try to surround myself with all things rum and tiki. So that's kind of my release outside of work.
Yeah, we're drinking Mai Tais today.
Making Mai Tais.
Because I couldn't get out there.
Cheers, guys.
I didn't want to. Because I'm
Alvarado Mai Tai, strawberry Mai Tai.
There you go.
Nice. But after the Mai Tai, I'll be popping a Danville IPA. So these are new labels.
Nice.
That, so.
I have a Modelo Especial in the fridge with my name on it. So there's that. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So Matt, you never really had a big hiccup in production. Like some brewers had beer that just kind of sat in the tanks, or they kind of had to shut the brewery down and maybe even kind of go into long-term sleep mode, so to speak, for their equipment, or really, really kind of like pull things back, or maybe even stop orders of certain raw materials and those kind of things. You didn't have to do any of those things. That you were able to. There was of course, a blip or a week or two where it was probably not normal, but after that, kind of
not as much as I was afraid of, honestly. There was one beer that we were already, it was kind of long in the tooth, and I knew that this was kind of a great opportunity to let that one go. But other than that, beer production for us, and we're a 10-barrel brew house. We have 3 10-barrel fermenters, 120, and a cold room with 7 10-barrel brights. Those just kept churning. There was about 3 weeks where maybe one fermenter was full, but after that, like I said, the community really rallied around us, and it was really special. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's great, and it's something not everybody has. And Danville's a small enough town where people are, they're sort of right there. You're central to downtown, but countless places don't have anything like that. So
yeah, and you kind of wonder, are people mostly going so they can just hang out there, which is great, which is the reason why to go to a neighborhood brewery and have the beer.
Yeah.
No, people are rallying to support and come and take that beer home. I mean, obviously people can. There was a gap between when you could do what you guys are doing now and people could sit outside, right? There was a good couple of months where it was only curbside pickup.
Right, and they couldn't hang out. They weren't allowed. They were at the time. They weren't allowed to hang out.
Not at all.
So get your shit and leave. Kind of thing.
That was it. Yeah, exactly.
Get out of my area. How are you? How are you guys doing with ingredients and supplies? Is that sort of taking a while to get through? Is that another hiccup you have to sort of overcome? Because I imagine scheduling has changed with, batch sizes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do allow a few extra days when I place my grain orders.
Yeah.
We don't have a silo, so all of our grain is ordered sort of a la carte, if you will.
I will.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we order a few days in advance, and I've found that there's some ingredients that it is harder to get than others because of this, particularly grain coming out of Europe is a little tougher to get my hands on. So I'm having to make substitutions here and there for that. But
just simply unavailable, or it takes longer to
unavailable at the time.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
The new bulk CO2 for a while was a problem in like March and April, and that
I was afraid
situation,
of that. I was really
that situation
of that.
is better now apparently, but there were some folks, especially larger production breweries, that tend to use obviously a lot more CO2, simply couldn't get it, or it was highly back ordered.
Yeah, I had read about that for sure, and I just kept ordering it and crossing my fingers, and it would show up. So.
What about aluminum cans for your crowlers and all that? Are you running into those issues?
That's not something that we've run into yet. However, I'm not crossing that off the list of something that I don't have to worry about, especially with the canning line that we're getting. That is something that's a little concerning for me. I don't do the can ordering. The owner does at this point. So he told me that his supplier has assured him that will be good, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. And again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. There isn't a whole lot we can do about that right now. So
it's primarily 16-ounce cans too, right? So you're kind of
16,
ordering one thing, which is probably helpful in the sense that like you're not trying to juggle a few different package size formats or something like that, right? So you kind of depend on one, get a reliable source of that, and hopefully be good, right?
That's a good point. And because I'm reading the same articles everybody else is reading about, like Coca-Cola and Budweiser. They're saying, hey, it's probably gonna have a hard time finding our products in cans, but probably at the volume they're used to. Maybe that has something to do with it as well. Like you can get a pallet of 16 ounces, but you can't get 10 pallets or 100 pallets of 12s or whatever they are.
Our minimum is 2 pallets, and on that little the 2-head canning line, it takes a while to get through that.
Okay.
But I'm suspecting that we'll be ordering a lot more here in the coming months.
Yeah. Are you doing any new beers right now? Are you sort of expanding your lineup, or are you just sort of maybe sticking with a core? Because you do have to be cautious of how much product you have on hand.
Absolutely, we're trying to, and we're also I'm being very mindful of what gets people to keep coming back, right? And let's face it, core beers, as great as they are, and they're awesome, can be they get a little boring, a little stagnant for some people. So I try to keep things rolling with different styles. We have seasonal sour we have on right now. We're doing our anniversary beer, our fifth anniversary is coming up. So
congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have the anniversary beer coming up. So we're always trying, if we have an available tank and we have available cooperage, like what can we do with this? Let's freaking think of something. Let's jive a recipe together.
Man, I would make me super nervous, man, to be like, well, I don't know. I would be nervous to have like 8 choices for people to choose from, because that's just 8 different times that something can go wrong or something doesn't sell, and then you had to wait all that extra time for these specific ingredients, and then it would sort of backlog the whole thing.
Yeah, especially unusual styles, because sometimes those you need that interaction with the customer, like in the
to sell
in the pub, to be able to describe what it is sometimes. So yeah, please, Matt.
It's funny you say that. Going in before the apocalypse, we were gearing up for World Beer Cup and CBC and all that, and I really wanted to brew a smoked Helles, and I wanted to enter it.
That
Awesome
sounds
style.
pretty good, man. Yeah.
So we did it, and then it's already a beer that people aren't going to readily order at a craft brewery.
You don't say.
Unfortunately, that is the truth, though.
Yeah.
They don't. People don't order.
And
It sits.
And then the shit hit the fan, and then it was ordered even less. So we were sitting on a ton of smoked Helles. As much as I love that style, it actually goes through me probably more than it goes through customers. But that's one of those styles that you need FaceTime. You know, I would love
It
to.
is.
Yeah. And when people do try it, you know, they order a crowler of it. They're surprised by it because it's a very, you know, subtle smoke and it's got that really nice sweet Helles backbone to it, and it's a great beer. It's a wonderful beer.
So unless people know beer and know beer styles, it can have the coolest name. It can say smoked Helles on the menu.
Yeah, you can
but
be
most
upfront
people aren't
with
going to
it.
understand what that is.
No, not at all.
Right.
Well, and Jamil likes to talk about, you know, some of the beers that he brews, like ESBs and shit like that. People don't order those, and so he ends up dumping them. But he likes them, so he puts them on tap. And I understand not every brewery is able to do stuff like that, but there is that. There is that, I don't know, fear, I guess, of doing some wildly weird-ass beer like a smoked Helles or an ESB, as weird as those are, right? But to the average consumer, I think that they are. So there is some sort of, I don't know, in my mind, it would be a little bit cautious about doing something like that. But especially now in the pandemic, it's still going on. But it sounds like you're just, people are buying enough beer, people are supporting your brewery enough that it doesn't really weigh on you.
Yeah, that beer still sits. We move a hell of a lot faster through our IPAs and such.
Sure,
And you know, I like to have one or two of those beers in our portfolio. Honestly, I like to have what I call brewers beers.
Yeah.
That when somebody comes in, they don't see a lineup of hazy IPA, hazy IPA, hazy IPA, West Coast IPA, West Coast IPA,
hazy pale ale.
You know, I want to have something on there that somebody will be like, oh shit,
yeah,
I haven't seen that. You know,
yeah,
I love that style.
You have to.
Yeah,
it keeps
like
you and the customers interested. You gotta hope.
It keeps me absolutely keeps me interested. As much as I love all of those IPAs that I was talking about, it you know, I like to have beers on that kind of diversify the lineup.
Yeah, for sure, man. Or else you just go get a job at Budweiser, pushing a button. You know what I mean?
Right.
Totally.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, like, wow, what would that smoked Helles taste like? You know, water vapor applied to it.
Yeah.
Just in theory. Just in theory. This is theoretical.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. Hey, we're gonna take a quick.
I was joking. That was a joke.
Of course it was. Yeah. Well, no, that's water for your absinthe.
Right.
So it's
just
totally
a couple
fine.
drops.
You're fine. Let's take a quick break, everybody, and we'll come right back with Matt from Danville Brewing.
Segmented, demented, fermented. It's the session.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're still sitting here with Matt from Danville Brewing Company, giving us the old thumbs up, Rooney, and we still have Nate here as well. And Nate, have you gone any more gray since we last talked to you?
Oh no, I got the Sharpie here to self-correct, right? Of course. So it's like I have an arsenal of them, you know. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
There you go. And then Thursday, Friday, you just let it coast.
Yeah, just let it coast. It's fine.
All right, Matt. So we were talking a little bit about your selection at the brewery and how much your customers are coming out and supporting you. We were talking a little bit also about brewing new beers. Do you have any beers coming or any ideas that are, I don't want to say pandemic related because that's stupid, but that are, I don't know, maybe inspired by the shutdown, or have you used this time to sort of noodle on a different recipe or a different style, or something like that?
This stuff's going to change the industry in some way or another in terms of what people want a little bit, right? So what kind of shift are you noticing, like if any?
Exactly.
Yeah, I've absolutely been working on recipes that I've wanted to try out. I mean, we have to keep up with our core brands.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've been doing my best to keep things interesting for me and the customer base. playing around with recipes. We took part in a collaboration with Altamont. They've been doing the Friends with Distances collaboration series, and we did that. That was a lot of fun.
How let's talk about that for a little bit. How do you do a collaboration during a pandemic when we're supposed to be 6 feet away from each other, wearing masks, and not touching one another at all? How do you
on the computer?
Digitally.
Just hashing out recipes.
Okay.
Going back and forth, texting back and forth. It was tough not to be there on brew day, I'll tell you.
So that's my next question. So they brewed it, you didn't brew it, or did you brew it and they brewed it separately?
And they packaged it. Yeah.
Okay.
But we were in constant contact. And they were letting us know what numbers were coming up and stuff like that. So
nice. Man, it's like texting the wife when you're out of town. I'm just getting some lunch, everything's fine. I feel great. There's nothing.
No, and in some sense it's cool to have someone do a bunch of the work on an idea that you put
That's what I
want. Of thought into yourself, but you want that hands-on to make it what you want to make it.
That's exactly my dream.
I love that. It was a lot of fun, and the beer turned out awesome, and I can't say enough good things about those guys.
What was the style?
That's awesome.
It was a classic West Coast IPA.
Old
school West Coast IPA.
Okay. It's funny.
Bigger, so when you say old school, like slightly bigger bitterness than people might.
Bigger bitterness and maybe a little bit more crystal malt than the kiddos these days are using.
The C word. No way.
Yeah.
What was the ABV?
That was somewhere. That was 6, somewhere around 6.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
So we're talking like pig levels, not like
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Exactly. Perfect. That's awesome.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, those kind of IPAs, you're kind of straddling almost that what some people call pale ale these days, with the higher ABV pale ale and the high 5s, like low 6s. Like those are very approachable. Like you can't miss. I mean, when you make one of those, it must have sold out immediately.
It did. It was gone. It was delicious too. We just did a collaboration, sort of the same idea with my buddy's brewery, Imperial in Brentwood. My buddy Vito.
Vito, yeah. We're going to be talking to him in a couple weeks, actually.
Shout out to Vito.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a collaboration with him. It was actually a tiki-inspired beer.
Okay.
Sort of a grog, if you will. It has spices and pineapple and lime zest and grapefruit zest. It was really, really good. So
cool. And was that another one where Vito brewed it and you got to stay home?
I didn't stay home. I was at work doing work, but
but you know what I mean. Yeah, you weren't at his brewery like graining in or anything like that.
No, those distance collabs can be kind of crazy. They're weird. Like Jeff Kimpy at Triple Rock invited me to do one with him in the thick of this. This was like in April, and it was awesome in a sense that he was able to do all the work, and we talked about the recipe a bunch of times. But I would have rather been there, like helping him grain out and helping him haul stuff around or whatever, And
plus, I miss my friends.
Exactly.
I want to see my friends.
Yeah, man, you miss the homies.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's the point of doing the collabs. So you can hang out and drink with them. It's a different kind of thing now. Right? It's like at least half the reason. At least half the reason, if not, more. To bring some interesting to everybody and then hang out together. So it's all different now, of course.
Yeah. Are you going to be brewing these at your spot too, just to be able to sell across the bar? And is it considered an open recipe, if that makes sense? Like you guys did the collab, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to work with one another to brew it again or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm sure we will. It's been really tough with scheduling around our core beers and stuff like that to get too crazy. But I would love to do a beer like we did with Imperial. Do another sort of old school IPA like we did with Altamont. But like I said, it comes down to scheduling and getting stuff in.
So Matt, you mentioned CBC earlier in the discussion, right? So that one was a mess. Like I believe, if I'm not mistaken, like everyone had their beers ready. A bunch of the entries are already in transit or about to be in transit. The stuff had to
mine were in transit.
And I think that was the case for most everybody in Northern California.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think all the stuff just basically was recycled or destroyed or whatever however you want to, think about it. So that competition and that event was just the right timing for it to all fall apart.
And it did. I mean, it came down to, I had to, they hadn't given word whether it was canceled or not. It was proceed as if it's happening.
Yep.
And if I didn't send it on day X, it wouldn't get there in time.
Right. Exactly.
So I had to send it.
And no fault of the organizers. They probably were being hopeful too.
Exactly.
They had so much on the line in terms of, event charges and
imagine
staffing and money.
were.
And just
I can't
terrible,
imagine.
a terrible thing to have to go through to cancel all that and then have to deal with all the consequences, and probably people not too happy about it. I mean, there were brewers who understood, but there was probably brewers who didn't understand. So this makes me wonder, like, next, of course, there's big things like GABF, and obviously that event has been able to adjust, right? And there's other things coming down,
I'm curious how they're
coming down the line next,
yeah.
right? So,
yeah.
And some breweries choose not to participate because it's been very tough times for them to even decide to do it. So, are you going to decide to do things like GABF? And how do you guys approach events, I guess, in general, too, aside from what specific one? Like, how do you look at events now versus before? When you can do them. Obviously, we can't do that. We can't do the kind of festivals that we were doing.
Right. Before. We can't be there, unfortunately, and that I would love to be able to be there. But I'm fortunate enough to work for a company that supports the brewing side. And when I told him that GABF was going forward, I know that we are lean right now, and I don't want to spend money willy-nilly. Right.
Right.
Yeah. He said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's send our entries off." So
fantastic.
Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, I know obviously the event itself won't happen. I know there's going to be, professional judging, as there always is for it in one capacity or another. They're going to arrange it.
Yeah, how are they
judging
doing
itself is spread out over many more
days. It's going to be a very big hall.
Yeah, exactly. That's only hearsay. I don't know for sure, but I mean, imagine will be planned out and run as well as they can do it. I mean, they're an organization that's under pressure too, because this was obviously.
I don't expect anything less. So.
Yeah, this was obviously something that was going to be an important moneymaker for them too. Now, so they're running things in a very different way.
Yeah,
that's awesome. You guys could participate, because I know you've had some great success there before. It's cool to be able to continue to be a part of that too.
So. Yeah. It felt good for me because everybody wants a little. Bit of normalcy, and entering competitions, canning for competitions, and sending it off. It kind of felt good because it's that little bit of normalcy, and everybody's clawing for that right now, I think.
Yeah, when July or August starts to roll on, many brewers are like, "Well, what am I going to do for GABF? What am I going to enter for GABF?" Right. So if that's absent, that kind of sucks. So it's cool you guys are able to do that. Like, not everyone can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking to some of the guys from Club Doze on Dr. Homebrew, I think month before, whatever, about how they handled the first round entries for NHC. And they were talking very much about, well, we sort of have an obligation to continue on with the judging and to just do this. And they were very, very strict as far as how far apart people were. A lot of it was done over Zoom like this. Which sort of, maybe that's, I kind of thought that would be sort of the way forward with some of these in-person,
it's not
judging.
Bad. I mean, if you can get the entries to the judges and they're there to discuss it, I mean,
the infrastructure seems nightmarish. Making sure that the beer gets to two separate judges in two separate locations, and making sure that they're both kept, at the proper temperature.
Yeah, I mean,
I couldn't imagine having to organize something like that.
No, and if
I get it.
If you're lucky enough in the Bay Area to have a large-ish judging pool, then that's cool, and you can definitely do that. And you can assign people a time to come and get their specific set of entries, and then they work with that judge to schedule a time over Zoom. It'll take longer, like you were saying, Nate. It's probably going to take a little bit longer for them to do GABF kind of stuff, but.
Right.
It's also safer, and then this kind of stuff can happen, and maybe potentially it's the new normal. I don't know.
Yeah, at least until we get on with the other side of this, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever that will be.
Yep.
Yeah. God, who knows, man? Who knows? So tell me, Matt, how was working with the city? It sounds like they were really, really open and let you sort of kind of do whatever you want, but I know there were some restrictions on breweries before, and it sounds like some of those were
ultimately it's
relieved?
the state and the county.
Yeah. Okay.
but as soon as we were able to have outdoor seating, we applied to have that parking lot just adjacent to us shut down, and initially they balked at the idea.
Okay.
However, they had allowed other restaurants in the area to open up, like literally close streets down for seating.
Jeez.
But unfortunately, we're along a major hub road in Danville, so that was out of the question to close that street down.
Sure, yeah.
But a couple days later, they called back and said, yeah, so we'll allow you to close down, the street side parking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Close down this section of street side parking for tables.
Okay.
So they've actually been very supportive of us throughout this whole thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're adjusting to new rules and laws and regulations too that seem to kind of like fluctuate as the days go on too. So
and I don't fault them for balking at first, because they're like
just playing it safe.
They're playing it safe. Nobody knows what the rules are right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so that was my next question about Newsom's new 4-tier sort of plan that just went into effect, I think, on the 31st of August. How does that affect you? Have you had a chance to look at it? Are you planning to sort of change your rules to bend to those, or are you just going to stick with what you're doing for now? And maybe
we're going to stick with what we're doing for now.
All right.
Yeah. We're taking more sort of a conservative approach. We're going to move forward doing what we can do as we're doing it until we're told differently.
Okay.
And honestly, to be totally frank with you, I'm not in that much of a hurry to have indoor dining quite yet.
Right.
Personally, know?
Yeah.
Understandable.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And it's, it would take us. So right now, I was looking at this for another show, and it was, we are in the purple zone of tier 1, I think, which is, I forget the term, but it's basically like it's the highest alert level possible. That's our county, and that's Alameda County, and it's like it would have to get down a couple of different colors in order to even have indoor seating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that would be tier 1. And we're tier 4, and it's just it would take a lot to even be there. But I think you can expand your outdoor seating, maybe, or I don't really know how that works. But
yeah,
it sounds complicated. But do you think that these measures have been overly complicated, or just the right amount of complicated? I mean, you said that you've been pretty conservative, as have I. I don't go out. I don't even go to the fucking grocery store. So I'm like hyper conservative about it. But I'm interested to know how other people perceive the
I guess it's from a customer's perspective. It depends on who you ask. There's some who will show up with no mask and they'll balk at the idea that you even need masks, and others who abide by the rules. And I would say that we're following the rules to a T.
Yeah.
And that.
Do you still get that? Like, still people with no masks coming in? Really?
Yeah.
No, as a business thing, it makes sense to follow the rules to a T. As an individual, as a person, like people can decide whatever they want to do. But as a business, you have a responsibility to whatever the rules are in the community around you. It's a different.
Yeah. Not only is our license on the line,
right,
but just a general respect for public health.
That's all it is. I'm really disappointed in our country that the mask thing has become so politicized. And I'm not trying to get into politics or anything, but it really sucks.
Yeah.
And I hate it. And as a person who is very afraid and concerned, like you were saying, Matt, I mean, I don't blame you, dude. That first 6-8 days, I was a fucking wreck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I teared up because you're thinking about the same things. You want to protect your family, but we don't know, and we didn't know enough about it then to know what to do even. And it seemed like we were just sort of reacting to a bunch of shit, even though the majority of the world has already seen this by the time we got it, whatever. But the fact that people are still to this day fighting the mask, and there's like people, I argue with people on Facebook all the time now about this. and they're giving me numbers and data from like March. And it's like, what are you talking about? We've learned so much from this virus now that you don't even keeping up with what's happening, but you're complaining about masks, and it's a shame, and it sucks because we could have definitely been doing a lot better than what we are.
For me, my main source of anxiety was just, and I'm sure I speak for everybody, is just not knowing what the end point of all this is.
Right.
Yeah.
Where is this leading us?
That's still a function.
And even when we get on the other side of all this, what does our society look like?
Right.
What does this mean?
It looks different for sure. Nobody knows.
My daughter's generation moving forward.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I feel the same way. You know, Alice is 2.5, and it's like luckily she doesn't have to go to school. We don't have to deal with all this kind of stuff. But I mean, I have friends that are sending their kids to preschool and shit, and it's like I can't imagine even doing that. I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's not for me. But it's for other people, and that's totally fine. And I don't know. Anyway, it sounds like you have a pretty good setup going on, as best as it can be under the circumstances.
We're trying the best we can.
Yeah.
We're trying the best we can to stay open. You know, we don't want to be another statistic.
Yeah.
No, some people didn't make it. Some people are probably in precarious territory right now.
Oh, there's a lot of places that can just
make it, right?
Closed.
I mean,
entirely.
We went into, just from the small brewing perspective, we went into this pandemic with the largest number of small breweries in this country in like 100 years, right? You got to figure it's going to have some kind of a fallout. Unfortunately.
Well, everybody was wondering when that bubble would burst.
Right. Nobody would have predicted this.
Right.
No, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. But, you know, how do you move forward? What's your plan? What's your mental strategy to not get so overwhelmed with, you know, the what ifs of the situation? Do you have one, or are you just sort of plodding along, keeping your head to the
Yeah. Yeah. I'm keeping my nose to the grindstone, really.
Yeah.
If I think too much about it, I get too depressed.
Yeah.
With the unknowns.
Well, you have enough work to do day to day, it sounds like, guys.
Yeah.
For your guys, and you. Yeah.
And that's what helps. That's what helps me mentally is, and fortunately I have a career. I have a job that I love going to every day. I don't dread it. And that's, you know, that was another thing I was afraid of when all this shit went down was, you know, what the fuck am I going to do? You know, I went to school to be a brewer. That's my love, my passion. It's what I want to do with my life. And if this, you know, if whatever this society looks like afterwards and I don't have a job, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. So I feel very fortunate to be able to have been able to jump right back, you know, into it where we started and, you know, continue brewing and all that. So like I said, that was a huge point of anxiety for me is, what am I going to do with my life? If, you know,
luckily
50% of the brewing gigs are eliminated, you know?
Right. And there's still no picnic and there's still some uncertainty, but at least you got to jump back in and do work that felt somewhat normal a week or two after the initial shock hit. You weren't wandering around brewing like once a month and then washing the floors otherwise, like wondering if you're going to get a chance to do that again. There are probably people sadly in that position in this industry, you know, brewing a little bit, maybe getting limping the business along, but maybe not doing all that well. So
and really, I mean, I'm fortunate to work for somebody who said, yeah, I'm going to have to lay you off. I can't afford to have you on. However, keep track of your hours and I will make you whole when I can. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
And they did.
So and then they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any plans to open food to go for the restaurant?
Absolutely. We started that. So we did the beer to go for about 3 weeks and then we rehired our kitchen staff and we've been doing, and then we do beer to go. And now that we have our tables and seating along the sidewalk and in the common area, we have full kitchen service.
Oh wow!
Yeah, the full kitchen service I believe is a requirement for part of part of that, at least in some counties. Yeah, and I think that's
it
the case
is for
across the
Contra
state
Costa as well.
Yeah, for Contra Costa, I know Alameda, and I think most of the states that way. So if you're serving, as fun as it would be, or as crazy and dangerous it would be, we can't go to bars yet and just have drinks, right?
Yeah.
So if you go there, you need to have a food option.
If you want to hang out, you got to eat.
Yep.
I love it. Let's take another break. This will be a last break, real fast, mainly so I can go get a beer. But we're going to come back. We'll wrap up here with Matt from Danville Brewing. Hang on. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
You're tuned into The Session.
Because life's too short to listen to crappy radio.
Hey, thanks for sticking around, everybody. This is the Brewing Network. You're listening to The Session, and on the phone, on the internet, whatever, we have Matt Sager from Danville Brewing Company here. We're just shooting the shit, basically, talking about pandemic stuff. It feels like, as much as working from home feels like Groundhog Day, sometimes talking about it sort of feels that way too, where it's like we're all going through the same thing, and I want to get everyone's perspective on it. And then it's just like, it is sort of cathartic to go through it, even though it's the same information. It's the same. Everyone's sort of struggling in the same way. Maybe there's minute details that differ, but it is sort of good to hear that other people are having the same problems that you're having, the same anxieties that you're having. And whenever I talk about this, I really like to focus on that, maybe because I'm a masochist, but it's just to make sure, even for me, to check myself, to make sure that I'm not overreacting, being sad or anxious or whatever. It's weird. It's weird. We're living in a weird time.
Yeah, because when you're doing that, you're looking in the mirror. You're not looking across the table or looking across the room at folks like us, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to check in when you can, like even through something like Zoom, which isn't perfect, but better than nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, at the brewery, how are you guys handling like staff interactions and stuff like that too? Do you worry about that? Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Hi. Do you worry about stuff like that? Because I would. So I would. I don't know. I would be a whole mess.
Sebastian and I are pretty secluded in the brewery, and we try to keep ourselves in our cave as much as possible. That being said, I don't discount what we're doing on the front in the front of the house, as far as making sure that our staff is well protected. We wouldn't be open if we didn't make sure that our front of the house was well protected. Everybody has to have masks when they're not eating or drinking. They have to have masks. All of our menus are wiped down meticulously. We've got a timer set. When the timer goes off, everything gets a full top to bottom clean.
Wow.
So that being said, I don't like I said, I don't discount what's going on in the front of the house, but it really never changed. We're back in the brewery. We don't really come out to the bar or to the restaurant all that often.
So your day-to-day feels a little bit like it used to inside the brewery, obviously. In your head, it's very different, but the physical work you're doing isn't disrupted as much. Everything in the front of the house is like upside down world.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're back in the brewery, and the only difference is there aren't people to oogle at on the other side of the glass anymore. It's just empty tables.
When you and Sebastian are back there, do you, in the back of my mind, I would always be, it's like what they used to tell you in high school, where it's like, you're not only sleeping with this person, but the other people they've slept with, so wear a condom, kind of a thing. Are you concerned about that, about your coworkers going, well, how careful are you outside of these walls? And I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot at the company. I know that you guys are doing absolutely everything and probably more to make sure that everybody's safe. And that's not why, it's not a gotcha question. I just want to know how you're doing with all of that. Because to me, that's very interesting.
The same could be said really with every time you go to the grocery store.
And that's why I want to know, because I don't go to the grocery store. I don't go anywhere.
Okay.
I get everything ordered. I don't leave the house.
Okay.
So I'm curious to how the other side lives.
At the end of the day, there's a certain amount of trust.
Yeah.
And I do believe that Sebastian and I are on the same wavelength, same page when it comes to that.
And that's important. You're a similar mind and agreement then, at least.
You trust him.
Yeah.
You trust him.
And we do. We're wearing masks in the brewery. It's a close, it's a small brewery. We just can't hear each other's inappropriate jokes as well as we used to.
So that's a plus. That's probably a bonus for any HR person at your place.
Mm-hmm.
No, this was a good question, JP, because it does lead up to your first part of the answer, Matt, which was like, are you guys wearing masks in the brewery? And of course you are, which is cool. Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, so if you're at the grocery store, it's one level of exposure. You have exposure to people in passing, maybe if you're there a half hour or an hour, right? So you're in an enclosed space, you're sharing air with them. Ideally, you should be wearing a mask in the grocery store like most of us are these days, right? So but you're limiting that exposure because you're only walking by somebody who may be infected, and you're only getting their air a small amount of time. So your dose isn't high. But if you're working in an enclosed space like a brewery can be, and oftentimes is, with somebody else, and even if you are wearing masks, you're sharing all that air with them. You're sharing all that space, right? Mm-hmm. So what we know about this virus now is you're less likely to get it from a surface, right? Mm-hmm. You're less likely to get it from something that someone else touched or anything like that. You're going to get it from sharing air with somebody. Right. And so if you're in an enclosed space like a brewery and you're not wearing a mask, you're essentially exposed to everything that the other person's exposed to. So wearing a mask is smart, but having that extra level of understanding, like you and Sebastian do, about okay, we're being cautious outside of this too, right? And we respect each other that way. That's important.
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of a given level of trust that we have. And I feel fortunate that I work with somebody that I can trust, and he trusts me as well. So we're both wearing masks. We're both, slathering our hands with antibacterial crap, and we're doing the best we can. And that's all I can say.
The brewer's mindset inside of a brewery is to be clean as possible, anyways. So that doesn't that doesn't hurt when it comes to this kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. All right, I get it. That makes sense to me. I mean, that's nice to have trust there, and and part of my mistrust of people comes from looking outside, and seeing people at the park interacting with other people that aren't members of their family with no masks on, and they'll have food trucks out there, and people walk up with no masks on, and they'll leave, and it's like this is that's what just turned my mind, man. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but it's good to hear that.
He's as paranoid as I am. We'll just say that.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a good page to be on. You don't want to be on different pages and trying to figure out what's the middle ground, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We were talking a little.
I enjoy working with him too, so that helps too. So we're a good team.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have trust, but it's another thing to like the person during this, because you do have to.
Because you're stuck with them.
Yeah, basically, man.
And the world's become a little bit small because you're not interacting with all the normal people you might be interacting with. You're interacting with a select few.
Yeah.
So you hope you like them, right?
Matt, there's a lot of breweries in California that are shipping beer. Have you guys looked into doing that? Is that something you want to explore at some point? That's how I get a lot of my craft beer. Like I'm drinking a pre-prohibition Pils from East Brother that I paid a lot of money to get delivered to my house, and it's worth it because it's fucking great beer. But
they make some nice classic styles that way.
They really do. Yeah, Teresa is Crooked Lane is shipping.
Crooked Lane's shipping too.
Now just shipping. Is that something you're interested in doing? I mean, they're more packaged breweries anyway.
I'm absolutely interested in it. At this point, though, we're having a hard enough time keeping beer. For in-house and in-house can sales. So
not a bad problem to have. You want to sell it all to local folks anyways.
Right.
You can, right?
And I would imagine as we move forward in the next couple months, we'll have a lot more capacity to be able to do that because we'll have a lot more beer in package at that point. And I'm really looking forward to that because I would love to get my beer in more people's hands. So right now it's just not feasible.
Yeah.
Outside of, Contra Costa County. So
in some ways, do you think that's helpful? It's a touchy subject, but the pandemic being helpful as far as people are more willing to pay. I'm personally more willing to pay for shipping. I mean, shipping beer is like $40. So it ups the cost, and it's normally a 4-pack. I would not pay over $10 for a 4-pack of beer, but now when you roll that shipping in, you kind of are, and it's like I'm more okay with that because I'm supporting local businesses and I try to spread it around as much as possible. But I wonder if it's in some way better marketing because you're letting the customer pay more money to try your beer because they want to help out, and then they go, oh, this is now I need to go back there. I need to do this. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It would be super cool to get, like I said, it'd be awesome to get our beer out there outside of our friendly confines.
Yeah.
But it's not feasible at this point.
No. I mean, just
I'm looking forward to that being the case moving forward. Yeah,
as you package more stuff, they'll open up different ideas along those lines, possibly, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Okay. Well, it sounds like things are ticking along right away, man.
We're doing the best we can, like I said. Taking every day as they come, and things will look a lot different as the weather gets a little cooler. I know Californians are soft, so they don't like sitting outside when it gets below 50 degrees, 60 degrees.
Hell no, yeah, no. Never.
So we'll see how things go.
Yeah.
Hey, speak the truth. That's honest. Yeah.
I mean, we got flu season coming now too, also. So they think that might confound things. But from what I understand, numbers are at least flatlining, if not decreasing. I know
because of the social distancing and masks and stuff.
Yeah,
too,
because
right?
of the mask stuff.
I think that flu season might be not as bad as it has in the past because people are wearing masks and washing their damn hands.
I read in Hong Kong, they only had 4 deaths from coronavirus. They had like 1,100 cases, and because the day that it hit Hong Kong, their government was like, "No, you don't need to wear masks." That's not how it transfers. But in those countries, they're used to dealing with respiratory illnesses, so everyone just wore masks to the point where they would go to parts of town where people couldn't afford masks, like elderly, buildings or the poor parts of town or whatever, and distribute masks out of their own pockets. So not only did they reduce the amount of coronavirus, but they ended their flu season like 6 weeks early. If you can really have a calendar to it, like. They did a great job in doing that. So maybe you're right, Matt. Maybe flu season will not be that terrible.
That's the hope.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, looking at the numbers, hospitalizations are down, which I think is like a really important number to check out too. So it sounds like we finally got it 6 months
People
later.
People are taking it more seriously now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even those who weren't a few weeks ago, I think are. At this point.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's been clear to everybody that it's going to spread to every corner of the world very quickly. And there's not a place that's immune in that sense.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Matt, what do you have coming down the pipeline, man? Can you give us a little peek behind the kimono, so to speak, about any new beers coming out or any new ingredients maybe you're playing with or new hops or something?
Yeah. So we were just had the opportunity to brew a fresh hop beer. It kind of funny story. Last week, Justin Burnt, my buddy at Ghost Town Brewing, hit me up and said, I'm driving back from Oregon right now with 100 pounds of wet hop strata with your name on them. You better schedule a brew tomorrow.
Damn.
Nice. I'm like, all
right,
okay, I can do that. So we have a fresh hop beer coming out in about, at this point, a week and a half from now. We have our anniversary ale coming out. It's going to be a really nice traditional West Coast IPA with a little twist. We're going to use some lager yeast for that to make it a little cleaner.
Okay. Tell me about
Other than that, we're just plugging away. Like I said, we're going to be getting out there a lot more often with our packaged beer. We're going to be getting the canning line in a couple weeks. So things are looking up for us, I think. So
good.
I really like the story about the wet hop beer. That's cool. You get a call from Justin like that. You're like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something that, you don't always have a lot of community right now in terms of hanging out and helping each other as much as brewers often would. I mean, we're
looking out for each other.
Calling and zooming each other, of course, as they always do, but like
zoom me, daddy,
to have like something like that available is an extra level.
We're all looking out for each other, and like I said, I can't say enough good things about the local brewing community.
Excellent. Sure. Tell me a little bit about that wet hop beer. And what base is it? An IPA? Is it a red ale? I remember a lot of.
No, it's IPA.
Okay.
It's upper 5s, lower 6%. That's where it'll end up.
Now you're talking my language.
Perfect.
Yep. So 100 pounds went in. It was kind of cool. It's a process that we hadn't used before, where we threw all the hops in the mash tun, cleaned out the mash tun, threw all the hops in the mash tun, and then underlet the mash tun with all the wort, and
perfect.
Let the wort vorloff through the hops for about 30 minutes, and just kind of tasted along the way until it got to a point where I'm like, oh man,
nice.
This is burning my throat. This is Cody.
So you
knocked out straight from there.
So you grained out, you emptied the mash tun, filled the mash tun with hops, and then you used that as like a hop back, essentially.
Basically,
so from the boil kettle, you just circulated
it
through.
Yeah,
okay?
Absolutely.
Why not just put them in the boil kettle? Was it just too many? Is that why?
It would, absolutely. It would clog up our heat exchanger.
Okay.
The short and long of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you give
we wouldn't get anywhere with that.
You give the wet hops a little bath.
I love it.
With the wort before it goes to the heat exchanger. And I like this idea of tasting it.
But we're able to recirc our wort through the hops.
Yeah.
Right. Because you want to pull all that fresh hop oil out of there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like this idea of tasting it as it progressed, and then you can compare all those differences and say, okay, now it's ready. That's cool.
I mean, we're up there. We're letting it vorloff through the hops, stirring it constantly. We don't have rakes. These are our rakes. And then tasting it as it's coming out of the thing, and finding that sweet spot.
What does Strata taste like? What does fresh hop Strata taste like?
Right now we haven't dry hopped it yet, and it's reached terminal. I've been tasting out of the fermenter, and it is such a bright grapefruit peel.
Okay.
Cool.
Kind of cannabis flavor.
A lot of cannabis. That's probably the hop that has the most cannabis-like qualities. And I'm not talking like late harvest, onion dank kind of thing, cannabis, like the most like actual cannabis, right? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
That translates into the fresh hop side of it too.
Yeah, absolutely it does. So
hops are different on the pre-kilned and kiln side sometimes. So that's interesting. That's cool to see that it kind of follows through like that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm so stoked for this beer, and we're going to be dry hopping it with some Strata pellets as well. So.
Nice.
Well, you know what, man? Honestly, Matt, talking to you, I'm like when we first closed. Actually, it was back in April. Vito contacted me. He goes, "Hey, man, I have this Pilsner. I really want you to try." I'm like, "Bro, I'm not leaving the house. I don't go fucking anywhere. There's no way." And he's like, "Okay, I understand. That's cool." And sort of as we go on, like we get groceries delivered and they kind of sit. Sure. I'd like disinfect. Whatever. I do this whole. I have a whole thing. It drives my wife nuts. But hearing you talk about it and how you guys are handling it, I would feel comfortable doing a curbside pickup.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you guys are taking it seriously enough to, you're not only serving the community, but you're caring about the community and how that's coming across. And I don't know. I for one really appreciate it as a consumer.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking it seriously.
That's good.
We're taking the community's health seriously, and honestly, from a completely selfish standpoint, I'm taking my health seriously as well. I have a family to come home to.
Well, you're really old. and you know what I mean. So you
And
gotta.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I'm part of that community that's.
Yeah. You live in the tower by the hop grid. Yeah, it's. I mean, I think you're younger than I am, honestly.
Okay, we'll go with that.
All right. You look younger than I am. How about that? Yeah, well, that's good, man. I don't know. I appreciate it. I really do. I know you got a jet, so we'll let you go.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Great talking with you,
welcome.
Matt.
Well, it was awesome to talk with you guys, and thanks for having me on.
Cool.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Good luck, and I'll reach out to come pick up some beer at some point.
I want to go get some of that wet hop beer. That sounds
me too, man. That sounds right up my fucking alley. Especially Celebration's coming out soon. Like, I want all the wet hop beers.
You want all the hops?
Give it to me
for sure.
Yeah, under 6%.
Well,
Give it to me right now. Cheers,
you
brother.
guys.
All right, Matt.
Mahalo.
Yeah, take care.
Mahalo.
All right.
Cheers, Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. All right, Matt can get out of here now. We'll
right,
release
I'm gonna
him.
get out of here
All
if
right.
I can figure this out. There we go.
You'll
Bye,
be
guys.
fine. Bye, dude.
Talk to you soon. Cheers.
All right.
Well, Nate, I think that pretty much does it for us too. Honestly, I do.
Good, man.
So
that was fun.
Before the show, literally right before the show, I was like, you know what I should probably do is look at feedback.
Oh,
so
yes.
I spun up some feedback. I don't know if you want to just do some old school BN feedback.
Let's do some feedback. Let's do a little feedback before we call it.
Yeah, let's go. It's funny, like combing through, we had so much more, and then you can sort of tell when the shutdown hit. It was like, oh, okay.
The tone of the feedback changed, or the amount.
The amount changed, yeah, man. So like someone is talking about clip show suggestions, because one of the first shows we did after and I just now reminded of it because of feedback. One of the first shows we did after the shutdown was me putting together a clip show.
Yeah.
Okay. And so David says 2 important episodes in BN history.
So a lot of people's doing feedback off of that. Thank you.
Yeah. Need to be included in these clip shows. D-Day and Doctoberfest. Which is I don't remember D-Day so much.
No, Doctoberfest I do. D-Day, oh man.
I want to say it's something with Daniela.
Probably.
So here's the thing about pulling clips for the show is that was very hard for me, because I want to look, we have a sordid history, okay? Especially me, and especially people like Doc. And we just, I want to sort of like cast us in a better light than what we may have been like in 2005 or 2008. You know what I mean? Especially me, I said a bunch of dumb shit for attention, or for trying to be funny, or trying to shock value, whatever, right? Because that's what I thought entertainment is. And some entertainment is that, and some isn't. And anyway, we've all evolved and sort of like changed our outlook on stuff. But so I tried really hard. I listened to a lot of BN. I listened to a lot of old Brewing Network, man. And it was interesting. It was cool. It was cool to kind of like see where we came from and whatever. And we were pretty edgy. And it was, I don't know. I liked it, man. It was cool. But anyway,
you don't want to look in the rearview mirror.
I'm not.
Night,
yeah, I'm
right?
not going to pull.
Moving forward, let's look towards the next chapter. You don't want to dwell on those forever. There was a lot of stuff said for shock value, and there was a lot of beers flowing.
There's a lot of beers flowing. Right? Yeah, for sure.
So there was gonna be some moments where you don't necessarily want to go back and like showcase that.
No, and Matt Peterson's in the chat. Speaking of people who said a bunch of shit, he says own your shit. I 100% own my shit. I also understand that, I know what I said and why I said it. I will never personally, I will never say, I'll never like backtrack or pretend it never happened. Like whatever happened, I'm not even talking about anything specific, just in general.
Yeah.
Being offensive or whatever, yelling at listeners. Like to me, I thought that was, anyway, funny. But I'm not going to do a Doctoberfest because that was such a shit show. I would feel weird cutting material out of context with poor Doc now, advancing it 10 years or whenever Doctoberfest was. I don't know. I just feel like some things deserve to be sort of encapsulated in the moment.
Well, they do, and those shows were long shows too. So it's like if you want to understand the context that led up to that train wreck of a moment, and that was the term rightly used, like you have to do the 3.5 hours that got you there, right? And then so when you get to that final 30 minutes, that's just total train wreck meltdown. I misspoke. Meltdown was the real term.
Yeah.
It turned into a meltdown for that 4 hours of drinking and talking beer and doing all the things that happened on the show.
That's what happened.
So to understand the context of what lead up to that, like, yeah, okay, if you want to go back and listen to the whole show and get there, do it. But to try and cherry pick a few select quotes, like,
it's hard, brother.
They'd probably just sound bad.
Yeah, with our format,
just sound bad.
It's tough, man. And listening to like Best of Stern years ago when I used to listen to Stern, but now to pay for it, and I can't do that. His clip shows would be it'd be 25 minutes per clip, because I think of that contextual segmented like format, and to me that sounded too long. But anyway, this is from J.P. Dickman, which is not me. He says, "Good
not
noon."
Not J.P. Dick, man.
That's right. Not J.P. the Dick, man. Good noon, Justin and crew. I'm embarrassed it took this long, but I have enlisted as a private in the BN Army. Woo! I've been employed for a couple months at Sierra Nevada as a cellarman. I really hope that you still have that job, brother. And have been supported so well. I'm finally in a place to give back to the network that helped me get to where I am. Make no mistake, I would not be where I am without the session, Brew Strong, Hop and Brew School, Sour Hour, and mostly lunch meat. And this is
He's
from
giving credit where credit is due. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And this is from April, so this is like right at the hairy edge of what's happening, right? So, Jacob, hopefully you're still there, brother. This is from Joe. He says, "Hey, Justin, I really enjoyed the show with Nico talking about the challenges of dealing with changing business rules. I think it's a great idea to get brewers and business owners on to talk about things they have changed to allow them to continue operating and keep people working. Also, it's a huge bummer about your New Zealand trip being cut short and the U.S. tour being put on hold. It's been fun listening to the planning and ideas coming up during recent shows, and I hope it gets the green light soon." That's cool. From a longtime listener, first-time feedbacker, and donor. All the best, Joe. Yeah, you guys can sign up on our website to be a donor of the show. As you can imagine, we need support now more than ever because a lot of businesses really aren't doing so well. So, if you want to help us out, if you're able to, we would really appreciate it. That would be great. This is from Clayton. Our close personal friend of the show, Clayton. I love Mayberry IPA from El Segundo Brewing. I love the flavor of chewing on a hop vine, that very green flavor. I also Clayton is very like stream of consciousness emailer, and I kind of love it. Like it's just sort of just so wacky. You can't help but love Clayton.
Everything that's right in the front of the mind just gets spilled out into the keyboard in the mail, right?
Yeah. I like that green pot character. If I make a beer that shoots for the green viney pot character and mix strata and mosaic, will the combination of the two hops miss the mark? Look at that.
No, I think you're right on the money, dude.
Do the compositions...
If you have those two and you can make that, do it.
Do the compositions and combination of both hops cancel each other out? Do they amplify each other? And I'll hoot my mark, but I'm sure he meant hit. Should I add Citra or Apollo to emphasize the dank character?
I suppose he could, but I would start with those two. I mean, those two vary a lot, so it kind of depends on what he's got, what state they're in, and like, because those vary a lot, But if he has all four of them, I'd start with just those two. And then give it a shot. It's like this was from like April, so it's probably who knows.
Literally April,
hops anymore. Maybe you even get 2020 versions of them here at some point.
Look,
later the hop harvest will continue regardless of the state of the world, right? But
it's true.
Yeah, I think if you want to make a beer that has that kind of like not just dank but like pot like complexity, yeah, if you got Mosaic and Strata at your disposal, I'd start there. Those are both so complex, that's going to get you there, I think.
And then he asks a broader question. How do brewers hit their goals? How do we make sure we don't over or underdo a flavor goal? And I feel like that's just knowledge of your ingredients. I asked John Meyer this once.
It
years
is, but
and years ago.
that's the best part of it. It's the adventure. You base on past experience and your conversations with others and the data that you have available, and then
you just do it.
The best instrument you have, which is of course your own palate and other people you trust, and adjust from there. But there's no way to predict sometimes. I mean, especially if we're talking about, like, this guy's obviously focused on hoppy beers. Like, hoppy beers have like thousands of essential oils in them, right? You're using them using hops aggressively, like this. way too variable,
Yeah.
what you're going to get from batch to batch, which is part of the beauty of it.
He says, I have thousands more questions. Sorry. I just consumed the 2 16-ounce beers listed above in the last 45 minutes. Feeling great, but I know there's very little coherence in the above. Good luck discerning my questions, is what he says. Discerning.
Typos and all. Stream of consciousness and typos. That's great.
Yeah, that's good, man.
That's a classic Brewing Network listener mail right there.
Yeah, for sure. This is from Colby. He says, well, I've been freeloading your content for years, but I have always been too cheap to donate. I know it's not too much, but I've subscribed as a private in the BN Army, baby. Because homebrewing without the Brewing Network is like a PB&J without bread. Messy, I guess. Thank you for being a pulse of the brewing industry, and I love the concept of bringing in brewery owners to talk about creative ways to bring in customers during this time. A few ideas I've seen in my neck of the woods: selling merch with a coupon for food or drink, selling meal kits from the kitchen to DIY food and beer pairings. That's a pretty good idea, like drumsticks and seasonings, he says, to make your own chicken wings or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have the beer flight. That's a really good idea.
Yeah, that is cool.
Advertise keg rentals. Where legal, deliver. Trillium in Boston does different neighborhoods every day throughout their Instagram. They only come to my town once every few weeks, so it's still novel and exciting. That is really cool. I really wish that people would do more, delivery, and it wouldn't cost, $40 to deliver.
Sure.
But, whatever. It's fine.
No, it's nice to have. I mean, the one thing, like you were talking about getting beer delivered and how expensive it was earlier when we were talking to Matt, but at least, especially among hardcore craft beer fans, like right now I can order beer from San Diego that I would normally not be able to go
Society
get, for example.
ships, yeah.
And that's just one city among others that are making awesome beers, like across California. Like that wouldn't be an option normally, so it's kind of awesome to be able to go and support those guys
100%.
during a tough time.
Yeah. This is from our buddy Mills. He says, hello to everyone. I hope that everyone is safe out there on the left coast. I just want to drop a note to say thank you for everything that you do, especially your recent shows. Listening to the latest session with Arizona Wilderness was inspiring. Last summer, I started working part-time in a local brew pub. While not nearly as big as Arizona Wilderness, it was nice to hear someone else in a similar position. Our owner had to lay off most of the staff, but has been able to stay afloat with to-go food and beer. Like many others, a small 7-barrel brew pub, we don't package beers in cans or bottles. We've had to get a crowler and crowler blanks from other local breweries, and even ran out one weekend. We've been trying to keep our customers engaged with social media, and I've been even hosting Friday virtual happy hours. I'd like to think that after listening to hundreds of hours of BN shows, that I maybe picked up on a few things. I've had to interview guests, and we've even had live local music on the virtual happy hour. It's really made me start listening to how well you do your jobs in a different light. It's maybe going a little too far, Mills, but I appreciate it, brother. I truly appreciate what you do for this industry. I've been fortunate enough to keep my full-time day job where I know many others haven't. To that end, I have signed up in the BN Army as a corporal. Wow. Look at all this outpouring, man. Times are tough all over, and that's 3 people in 2 months. It's really nice, man. I really appreciate that.
Mills, welcome to your new life. Hundreds of hours. You've definitely been indoctrinated yourself.
Yeah, that's right, man. Good stuff, man. I appreciate that. This is from Ryan. He says, I'm listening to the February 14th revision brewing session and just got another Bud Light seltzer commercial at the first commercial break. Don't worry, I'm not pulling my monthly donation. Keep up the good work. I'll let Jay know. I'm sure that'll help him out.
Oh, man, what a changed world, too, now. It's like, I'm sure Jay would love to be able to have shows often enough to be able to get some complaints, but,
yeah,
it's a different kind of scene now.
Hey, Justin and Networks. This is from Wiggity Wig. Longtime session listener here, and by long time, I mean Rat Pad, where Bevo took calls from behind a curtain in the closet. When Shat was still...
That's way hardcore.
Yeah, when Shat was still producing and the biscuits, Vajoon was leaking all over. Jeez, piece of the biscuit. In the realm of over 200 session episodes that I've listened to, your 2 most recent ones about continuity of operations during COVID pandemic rank among my all-time favorites. In this shitstorm, it was nice to hear about owners looking after their employees the best way they can right now. I know it's not much in the grand scheme, but I am donating a one-time kernel donation to you. I hope it keeps the lights on to be in a little longer until we finally emerge out of this mess together. That's nice, man.
That's
Thanks.
cool.
Yeah.
Outpouring of support from the listeners.
Let's see. We'll delete. That's I don't know, man. That's we have a lot here, so let's maybe we'll Here's one from Paul. This is from last month. Are you okay? Greetings,
That's a
Justin.
legitimate question for someone to ask straight off the bat. Thanks, Paul.
100%, man. Greetings, Justin, and all at the Brewing Network. I hope you're surviving the COVID nightmare. We worry about you guys since we've got COVID under control here in Australia. Justin, maybe staying in New Zealand would have been a good idea. Please let us know how you're doing and when the session will be back. Anyhow, miss you guys. Stay safe. And how is Tasty doing? That's from Paul at Doolittle Brewing down there in New South Wales. I've talked to Tasty a few times. You know, I like to check up on the dude. I think he's doing fine. I think this is very hard for him, just like everybody. I don't want to speak for him, so you know, I would like to have him on. I invited him on the Flat Tail episode, but he just has so much going on, and I don't think he really just felt like it. So
homebrewed a brown ale recently. You know, it wasn't like straight up Janice Brown recipe or anything, but it was a brown ale nonetheless. And I sent him some pics of it, and basically I didn't have anything else to say other than like, I wish you were here to help me taste do the initial tasting. You know what I mean?
That's all we can do, man. You know,
I mean, he had limiting factors anyways going into this, and it was hard for him to get out and do stuff out and about like he normally would. Now that goes double, I'm sure. So it's like,
absolutely.
Of all the friends I miss my friends who I know are even more limited what they can do.
And that's all we got to do, man, is just keep track of one another, and you know, check in on everybody. If you haven't talked to that person in a month or 2 months or whatever, just shoot them a text. Don't feel weird about it. Talk
advice,
to people.
Jason.
We need to reach out to one another.
Yeah.
All right, Nate. Well, I'm ready to go. I think you're ready to go. Do you want to riff us out? You want to play us out? You got your axe, man.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, by the way, as an aside, I really dig that new Brain Oil album, man. It's very good. It's very heavy. I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. It's
we put tons of energy into it.
It's, you know, honestly, man, it feels like a lot of I don't know how to say this. Like, you know, a lot of that music is sort of like up and down, like spiky. I'm going to get very almost, you know, weird about how I think of music, but it's like up and down or whatever. But the new album is sort of like even on a curve, or it's just it's sort of more cohesive.
There's definitely a flow from song to song. And we spent more than 5 years writing it, and we threw away as much material I think as we kept. So the stuff feels like it flows well together. I hope. So thank you.
I think it does, man. Yeah, good. I'm glad you took it as a compliment, because I definitely meant it as one. And you know, and
I mean, the band's only done 3 albums in almost 20 years. So Singularity to Extinction, I think, is probably the strongest one that Brain Oil's done. So people who like heavy stuff, I encourage you to check it out. Like, came out in 2018, but I think it still stands the test of time, and the songs flow well together. I feel like, thank you.
I think so too, man.
Appreciate it.
So like I collected all my albums that I have from you on. I use Plex server just to organize my media, which is really great. If you haven't checked it out, you should. And I just sat and listened to them the other day. As soon as I got that new one, and they're very, very different, man, but your sound is still there, and that's what I really appreciate from bands. It's you know, you can change up and you can do different shit, but if you don't sound the same, then it doesn't, you know what I mean? So your songs...
Totally, thank you. Yeah, we all grew up on the same punk, man. We all grew up on the same punk stuff.
Yeah.
I think it all comes through. Like, it all comes through in one form or another. Like, that's like the root that sort of grounds us. But yeah, the new stuff, there's like the fastest stuff we've probably ever done, and the slowest stuff. And like some of the more riffy single notes, sort of like more metal influenced things. Like, you know, we listen to the very first record, and there's a bit more like rock and roll and stoner rock kind of stuff, right? So it's like it all kind of flows through that same root of punk, which kind of grounds it all. Like, so thanks, man. I appreciate you listening to all of it.
Yeah.
The new one, I think, is, I mean, I obviously biased because it's so recent, but that's one of the stronger offerings in terms of like adventurous songwriting.
Good.
So
I like it. How do you buy it? Where do people go?
Go to brainoil.com. Brainoil.com. That'll bring you straight to our page where you can buy both digital versions and vinyl versions of that record and some of the past material. Yes, and you can listen to some of the stuff there streaming for free as well from all 3 records that we've done.
Hell yeah. Nate's going to play us out here, in a sec, but I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It's always good to connect with everyone live. Thanks to Matt Sager from Danville Brewing Company coming on here and telling us a little bit about how they're progressing through COVID and all the stuff that they're doing to keep everybody safe. If you want to hear more shows like this, of course, thebrewingnetwork.com has all the shows everywhere. There's 2 brand new Dr. Homebrews that just went up. I'm currently editing 4. Well, okay. I have 4 Brew Strong shows to edit, so I'm not currently editing all 4 at the same time. But they will be up, I'm hoping, within the next week. So if you like the Brew Strong, Jamil and John Pollinatter are really doing a good job in putting out content, obviously more than I can even keep up with editing. So check them out as well. If you want to hear more of me and you like Disneyland, go to earsup-podcast.com. That's where I'm at. And that's about it. Nate, are you ready, man?
Yeah, if you can hear me at all.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, no, not really. I thought you had an amp or something. I thought it'd be cool.
I know, I should bring an amp. Next time we will.
All right.
I won't forget.
Nate's not going to play us out, but
I'll jack an amp right into this Zoom thing, and I'll blast you guys' eardrums next time.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for trying, Nate. I appreciate it, man. Stay safe. Say hi to Nicole, and keep brewing. All right. All right, guys.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Cheers.